Ever since its inception, Ather has always been a company that has been catering to the enthusiasts. Right from the 450 Gen 1 up till the Apex, the riding experience has always been focused on fast cornering, thrilling riding and all of that. But in the process, they have alienated a big chunk of riders that want a family scooter, something they can take their family out on. And this is exactly what Ather has addressed with this all-new Rizta. Welcome to the first ride review of the all-new Ather Rizta. In this video, I'm going to be telling you whether or not you should be getting this for you or your family. But before we proceed, don't forget to like this video, share it with like-minded enthusiasts and smash that bell icon to stay notified for all things thrill of riding. Now the Ather 450 series of scooters have always been bold and in your face and really sharp in terms of the styling. That is not everyone's cup of tea. When you have a family scooter, you want something that's conservative, that has more traditional lines, and the Rizta is exactly that. And I'm really glad Ather has gone that route because this will really appeal to the audience that it is catering to. But at the same time, Ather have done a good job of also adding their own elements to this bike, and that makes it distinctly Ather. You have a very industrial appliance-like look. It has nice clean lines and you can also get these really funky colors to make it stand out, but at the same time the overall silhouette is one that is and screams family scooter. So to that end, Ather have really nailed the brief. You have a front end with a nice headlight that goes all the way around. You have a nice wide fender for the wheel. You have a nice wide section behind which you have your apron. The apron can be configured with a 22-liter frunk. You have a very familiar looking screen, although over here it is not a touchscreen unit. You have a nice wide handlebar. And now moving to this side is where the real star of the show is. This is this big seat. Ather claims that this is the largest seat in the segment, be it ICE or EV. And looking at it and sitting on it certainly does feel that way. Two people can sit comfortably. In fact, even the rider can have a backpack on and the pillion should have more than enough space to sit really comfortably. Another thing that the Z variant that this scooter benefits from is this rear backrest as standard. You can fit it on the S variant as well. And one more thing that differentiates the S from the Z variant is this dual tone paint scheme. So there is that. Now looking at it from the side, you have this nice box-like structure, and that is because the inside is where you get all the benefits of that box-like structure. So total you get a combined 55 liters of storage, and that's great. They've nailed the practicality on that front. And then when you look at the rear, you have this nice strip LED light. Really Ather, really nice, really industrial. I quite like the way it looks. Now what do you think about the design of the Ather Rizta? Let me know in the comment section down below. Propelling the Ather Rizta is a 4.3 kilowatt motor that is powered by a 2.9 kilowatt hour battery, similar to the Ather 450S and the X. Now the performance figures for this stand at 4.3 kilowatts is the power output, like I said, 22 newton meters of torque that enables a 0 to 40 kmph sprint in 4.7 seconds and a top speed of 80 kilometers per hour. The claimed IDC range is 123 kilometers to a full charge. All these figures that I've said are claimed figures. I've not been able to test them. That we will do when we get the bike for a road test, but this is what it is in terms of numbers. In terms of how it feels, I would equate the performance closer to that of the Ather 450S than the X, and this is by all means a more lesser performing scooter, and that's exactly how Ather intended it to be. This is meant for the family. Calm is the overall theme of the Ather Rizta is what Ather tells us, whereas the 450S was adrenaline, energy and all of that. So to that end, this feels very calm. It feels very mellow, very gentle to accelerate and all of that. Now this comes with a zip mode as standard. If you opt for the Pro pack, it also unlocks a smart eco mode where the top speed is capped quite lower, around 40-50 kmph is what I experienced. And in zip mode is when you get the full 80 kmph top speed, and you get enough performance when you set off as well. That is bound to happen with an electric scooter. Smart eco feels fairly slow, so start-go traffic, it's best to use smart eco over there. If you're out on the open roads like we are in the Ghats, zip is where you want to be. So that's all Ather has given in terms of riding modes. They didn't want to complicate the riding experience, and that they have managed to do quite well. The entire user interface is very similar to the S and the X. You have a 7-inch TFT screen over here. In the Z variant, the S variant gets the deep dive screen from the Ather 450S. Navigating the screen is done via all the same joysticks and buttons from the handlebars. One thing to note is that this screen is not a touchscreen unit. It is TFT screen, but you have to control it using this or your phone app, but I'll get more to that later. I've covered the performance part of it. Now let me talk about the ride and handling. Now the front end of the scooter is pretty much identical to the 450S despite what it might look like from the outside. So the geometry for the front end is pretty much the same. Where things do change a little are at the back, because there's a new subframe to accommodate for the larger rear end, the larger seat and all of that. And there's also a new swing arm to make it more accommodating for all of these factors that make it a proper family scooter. In terms of handling, it is got the inherent Ather handling quality of being a very sporty, very agile scooter, but it's not nearly as sporty as or agile as the 450X. That in turn gives it a lot of composure. It'll be very easy for people of all different kinds to ride, whether you're old, whether you're young, whether you're an experienced rider or a new rider. You shouldn't have any problem whatsoever riding this scooter. Now, in terms of braking, you get a disc brake at the front and a drum brake at the rear. You don't get a disc brake at the rear as you do with the 450 series, but that's also to save costs a little. But one very interesting feature that this Rizta benefits from that only the 450 Apex has so far is MagicTwist. So this is essentially Ather's take on a more advanced regen system that does more than just regenerate some of the performance that you lose. What Ather intends to do with this is make it your entire braking system. It's not there yet, but that's what Ather is working towards, and I must say it works really well. So if you want to come down to a controlled slow stop, you can actually use just the negative twist of the throttle, which is a 15-degree negative twist, and actually come down to a controlled stop using just MagicTwist, and that's really commendable. And the best part is it's not just an on-off switch. You actually have that 15-degree of control to control how much you want the regen to kick in. So that is quite interesting. The braking performance is also quite good. It's not the sharpest and it's not a problem. You actually get enough braking performance to use over here, and that's quite good too. Now, the most important part that I want to talk about in the whole ride and handling scene of things is the comfort, and that is what Ather has really managed to achieve over here. The 450X was a really cramped scooter. That was one of the major complaints I had with it, and that seems to have been rectified over here. The floorboard is still a touch too high for my liking, so it does come over here and my knee does come in the way. But that being said, the seat is extremely comfortable. It's really long, it's very roomy. I am by no means a small rider. I am well above average in terms of my girth, and you can see that despite that, there's plenty of space left for a pillion to sit. I could even be wearing a backpack and someone could sit behind me comfortably. So to that end, they have really nailed the comfort brief quite well. This won't be much of an issue unless you're really taking tight U-turns, but then again, you mostly will get your feet down for a tight U-turn, so that won't be much of a deal breaker. So overall, I really feel like Ather has done a very good job in terms of making this and designing the architecture such that it does a good job as a family scooter, but at the same time, it does retain that inherent Ather quality of being a good handling scooter as well. Now, no Ather is complete without a whole suite of connectivity features, and this Rizta is no different. In fact, Ather has taken it one step higher. They have upgraded their Ather Stack software to the 6th version, which will also be rolled out to the previous generation of Ather scooters right up to the Gen 2 450 series of scooters. Now this Ather Rizta, again, like I said, it works on the Stack 6. It gets a whole bunch of connectivity features, including some new really interesting ones. The phone app has been completely redone. There's a new look and feel to the entire app. A lot of the things can be controlled from here. Now this Rizta, it supports things like Alexa connectivity, so you can connect your smart Alexa devices and ask status of your scooter, where it is, what charge status it is, and all of those things. Google integration, as Ather tells us, is at its finest yet. So route changing on the fly, auto-correcting to a faster route, and all of that happens really quickly now. This screen, like I said, is not a touchscreen unit, so Ather has done that to cut costs a little and to keep the price of the Rizta in check. Now, they're not really considering this as a budget or entry-level offering. It still is considered a relatively premium offering, but it does undercut the S and the 450X. So to that end, they have done away with the touchscreen. It still is a color TFT screen and you navigate with these buttons, but if you find navigating with the buttons a little cumbersome, all of that can be controlled via your phone, so that's not a problem. You still do get a touchscreen experience on your phone. The app is very easy to use. It's very intuitive, very straightforward. You can send your maps from here and all of that. Like I said, you have a whole new suite of notifications that you can now get on the Rizta, including WhatsApp notifications. So if you really are at a stop sign, you don't want to take your phone out, you just navigate over here, come to the phone section, connected devices, you click and select your connected device, you can check WhatsApp messages. So that's pretty cool. And the best part is this doesn't work when you're riding. So all those menus just get tucked to the side. When you're riding, that doesn't really come in your main screen, and you can't even access it if you wanted to. So on the safety front, you are covered over there. Now Ather also has this new feature called skid control, which is essentially their take on traction control. So on loose surfaces, if you open the gas a little too much, there's a wheel speed sensor on the front as well that is also calculating with the wheel speed sensor at the rear. So if the rear is spinning out faster than the front, it will inhibit the throttle and make sure that everything settles down and comes to a comfortable pace. So there's no unnecessary loss of traction or any of that. We've tested it and it does work, so that's really interesting as well. And there are a whole bunch of connectivity features that you know that Ather gets that this does benefit from as well. Now, one more thing I want to show you is the storage space. Now, like I said, 55 liters in combined if you get the 22-liter optional frunk, if not 33 liters. Now, 33 liters is still plenty, and that's a lot of space. But if you do put a lot of stuff in it, it will also become challenging to carry because there's just a lot of stuff just rolling around in there. But Ather has engineered quite a nifty solution for that by way of this bag. Now, you just pick this bag up, and that's essentially all your stuff that you need to carry. You just take it and you go up. When you come back down, you just get the bag and put it back. A very neat solution, a very handy solution, and I think this is a very smart design for something like this. Now, the Ather Rizta is not just comfortable to sit on and interact with, it is also really comfortable to ride on. That's because the ride quality has improved a lot as against the 450. And by improved, I don't mean the 450 was bad. It's just that the 450's focus was more towards sporty, committed riding. So the suspension setup was also stiff accordingly. This, on the other hand, has a lot more plushness in its suspension setup. It's a lot more pliant and rides over bad roads with a lot more comfort than the 450 ever did. So again, on the family scooter side of things, this is again a very comfortable scooter in that regard as well. Now, prices for the Ather Rizta start at rupees 1,10,000 ex-showroom for the base variant and go all the way up to rupees 1,45,000 for the top end variant. But this is without the Pro Pack, and the Pro Pack I really feel is something you should buy if you're getting the scooter, because a lot of the features that really add a lot of value to the riding experience lie in the Pro Pack. Now, in the variant that we're testing, this costs rupees 1,25,000 ex-showroom. So this is the Z variant, but with a smaller 2.9 kilowatt-hour battery and the 123 claimed range. The Pro Pack that adds the features like your MagicTwist or the extra ride mode, all the extra connectivity features cost an extra 15,000. So you're talking about an ex-showroom price with the Pro Pack of rupees 1,40,000. Now, while that is expensive, it still does undercut the 450X by quite a big margin. It does miss out on a few features like the touchscreen, and it's not without its flaws, of course. But as it stands, it really does a good job of nailing the family scooter brief. It's comfortable, it's easy to ride, it has a lot of space for carrying groceries and all things that a family would require out of a scooter. It's easy to ride, again, like I said, so people of all ages can comfortably ride it despite their experience riding scooters. And it's also engaging to an extent because it is inherently an Ather. It's not the most engaging scooter out there, but it's not meant to be. So I think if you're out in the market for a comfortable EV scooter from a trustworthy brand, this is a very good place to start. Now, that's what I think about the Ather 450 Rizta. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below.